back. Don't you ever leave me again. That was a very silly idea. Let us toast to that night. Do you remember what happened? I spotted you, and I knew then and there you were going to be special to me. What is it you're looking for out of tonight's event?
I don't really know.
I love that trip. My cousin Sophie's wedding. That was when I took you to London. What's on your mind?
Nothing.
Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good.
If there's something you're trying to get me to say or admit to, just tell me. I'm not a mind reader. The last few months have been so hard on me. But sometimes you take things too far.
Please.
Please what? Would you do that? Would you take a perfectly good moment and ruin it?
There's something else I need to do.
I was such a mess without you.
You okay? David?
You know how much I love you. You just don't always know when to stop. And that really, really hurts me, darling.
Boom, there you go. That was a trailer for a perfectly good moment, streaming right now on Tubi, On Demand, Prime Video, all the places. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. Joining me to talk all things perfectly good moment is the star. She's also the writer on the film, producer, Amanda Jane Stern. Thank you so much for your time today, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Definitely. So this psychosexual revenge thriller that is now available on demand on Tubi caught my eye. I was aware of it, not too long ago because we cover all things entertainment here at Nerds Rule the World.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure that we got a chance to link up, and I got a chance to really see this film outside of all the other films I watched voluminously because of what I do. I had a fun time with this one. I'm gonna be honest. Just this, relationship that you think is going one way, but then it totally flips, and you're like, what? And spoilers, a little bit.
Yeah.
I could okay. I was like, the whole time though, before we get kind of like that transition, I was like, I hope this girl just gives it to him, because shout out to Stephen Carlile. I'm sure he's a wonderful man.
He is. I love
person.
him. I love him dearly. He's so sweet.
But I was like, okay, Amanda, you better get your revenge. Something. This is not a good guy. I was like one of those people that would have, when I used to live in the South, people would just, I don't know, maybe it's in New York too, a New York thing. But those people that obnoxiously talk to the screen while they're watching, and they're like, hey girl, stop. Don't do it.
Yep.
I felt that way watching this. I can't lie.
No, good.
Like,
I love that. I talk to the screen too kind of thing, especially it depends on the movie you're going to. And this is one of those movies that, and it depends on what audience you're showing it for, because our world premiere was in Florida, where the audience has an average age of, 75. So they all sit there silently holding their breath. You have no idea what they're thinking. But then we played at a festival in Dubuque, Iowa, and it's an industry festival. So they're all the people from the town who go there, but then it's also all of these other filmmakers coming in from out of state. So that's who your audience is. And they are loud, and they are, talking along and cheering you on and making commentary, because that is the kind of movie it is. It's a genre film. That is what you expect with a genre piece.
Definitely. And so much fun. And I'm so at the end, again, I'll try not to spoil, but I'm like, you go, girl, all the way. I love how it just kind of finishes it up. But
yeah.
Can you tell me about this piece? When I was reading kind of the press kit and some other information about this, there is a problem, being in the industry. You and I have been acting for quite some time.
Yeah.
And so we're very familiar with the industry. So this conversation that you're talking about in this film, and even outside of the industry, of just, these older, evil people and feeding on the young. Like, come on, Weinstein.
Yep.
Can you
Yeah.
tell me just kind of like the genesis of this project and then, climbing on board and making this film happen?
Of course, yeah. So as you mentioned, we do see that relationship a lot. And I grew up watching a lot of older movies. I'm a huge fan of film noir. I love black and white movies. And something you kind of start to notice is the power imbalance that is always a little bit inherent, and that the man is always 14, 15 more years older than the woman is. And it's never being portrayed as, wait a minute, maybe this is actually something we should step back and look at because they are not on equal footing. And then you look, how young a woman was when a movie got filmed. Oh, she was 19, 20, he was in his 30s. There is no way that these two have equal footing, but these are also movies I still love. And then I also really like the erotic dramas of the 70s, like Last Tango in Paris, but that is problematic. And not even what the story is, it's how it was filmed, and the things that happened on that set are so problematic. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, look up, the filming behind the butter scene. It is notoriously a horrible thing. And I was kind of grappling with my own love of these movies. And then Hard Candy, the 2005 Elliot Page, Patrick Wilson revenge, absolutely good for her movie, which is just full on a child getting revenge on a pedophile. I fucking love it. So I kind of thought, what would happen if Last Tango in Paris met Hard Candy? And that was my initial inclination for this movie.
Oh, I love that. And so true. I've
Yeah.
felt so conflicted, like you, as a lover of film,
Yeah.
and as a creative. It just made me look different at these people I used to idolize and, used to really enjoy. But yeah, looking back at certain things, it's so problematic now. And yeah. So I loved Hard Candy, and just, these certain films that are out here now, where just women and shout out to all my amazing women, because we are living in a patriarchy, y'all, and we got an evil president right now. Anyway, let me get off the soapbox. It's been difficult as a creative of late, if you will. That just, and I'm so thankful that writers, actors like yourself are giving us projects like these that need to speak up and inspire the next generation, so that way we can prevent some of that terrible just dynamics that we've been seeing in the past. Because when people see that, I think the biggest thing, as a person of color, when you see it, you can achieve it. And so now, for people coming up now, we need to see films like this so we can erase some of those other projects and have more of them. So that way we can change that power dynamic.
No, I agree. We need things that are actually grappling with them and really taking them to task. And sure, revenge movies are not everybody's jam. I've definitely had people who have asked me, like, well, don't you think she's just as bad as he is? Nah, no, I don't. Because it's not about the actual legal practicalities of her getting revenge. That's not why you make or watch a revenge thriller. It's about catharsis. It's about taking real trauma that people experience, this relationship, and letting the person who has been abused get catharsis, so that people in the audience who have been through it get to watch that, and they get to take someone down a peg, and they get to make fun of them. It's not about actually going home and doing what Ruby does. That's not even possible. And who cares? And that, those are some of the critiques that people have had about Hard Candy. It's like, well, because she goes after him, does that not make her as bad? I'm sorry, he's a pedophile and a murderer. No, you go 12-year-old, take him down. That's not the point. It's about getting the catharsis of watching someone who really deserves their comeuppance get their comeuppance at the hand of their victim or would-be victim.
Completely agree. So, putting the project together, can you tell me, bringing Stephen Carlile, who I'm sure is a sweet guy, on board, even though he plays Scar on The Lion King.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me how, you stepped into this? You're an actor yourself, now kind of, getting on the other side of the camera to create this. Can you tell me about a little bit of pre-production and bringing on Stephen, and for yourself, because sometimes we write, but do we want to star in it as well and show ourselves?
Right.
in that. So can you tell me again for yourself and then bringing Stephen as well on board?
Yeah, I did write this one for myself. So a lot of the things about line for the ads about how she looks are things that people have told me in the past, and I wrote it very specifically about how I look. I'm a tiny 5'2" redhead, and and there are even some lines that were even more overt that we just cut for timing because he says so much bullshit to her.
Oh, it was killing me. I like, oh.
I know it's the experience of being both horny and deeply uncomfortable at the same time, which was the intention. It definitely was the intention that you're looking at it and you're like, well, this is sexy, but oh God, the things that this man is saying, that's not sexy. That's really bad. And can he just shut the fuck up? But so yes, Stephen plays Scar in The Lion King on Broadway, and he has been playing Scar since I think 2017. So he's been, doing that for a while. And I saw him perform in 2020. I saw a performance at the beginning of 2020. We hung out afterwards. And then that was kind of it. We didn't really stay in touch, but we swapped contact info, and there'd be the occasional like each other's post on Instagram kind of thing. But so when I started thinking about this script, I started thinking about, okay, well, I know I'm writing for myself. Is there anyone that I see in this male lead? Is there anyone that I want to write this, in mind for? And for whatever reason, he was the first person that popped into my head. So I wrote it specifically for him. And then I texted him. It had been over a year since we'd talked. And I said, hey, buddy, been a while. Want to make a movie? Call me. And then that was it. And so I sent him the script and he goes, yeah, I'll do this. I'm on board. And so I thought, oh my God, wait, he said yes. Okay. I guess this is happening. So the guy who co-wrote the story with me, Julian Salzer, who also produced the film, he and I sat down. He said, okay, well, Stephen said yes. So we're going to make this happen. Let's start putting feelers out. Let's find a director. Let's start trying to raise money. Let's start, finding a crew. And we got really lucky finding our director because Emily Bailey, who did the color on the movie, she and Julian grew up in the same town. They're friends from high school. And she works over at Company 3. She's worked on the team that did Invisible Man, that did Black Bear. She's phenomenal. And he emailed her and he sent her the script and the lookbook. And it was very much an idea of, hey, maybe we can also hire you to do the color because you're really good. But so she emails back and she says to us, there's this director, Lauren Greenhall, who I work with all the time. She's never done a thriller. She comes from the comedy and the documentary world, but I sent her the script and she's really interested. I don't know if you're still looking for a director, but if you want to talk to her, I'll put you in touch. And we were still interviewing people. So we connect with Lauren. We get on the phone with her. And the first thing she says to me is, I don't know you. I don't know your story. But when I was in my early 20s, I dated a man who was 16 years older than me. And there are lines in the script that my ex said to me verbatim. So I know that to some degree, this is coming from a place of truth. And I want to make this movie. And that was it. That was the thing. That was the hook. So I had her and Stephen and me and Julian, we went to Central Park. We met up. This was March of 2020. Everyone was still masked. You met outside just to see, okay, what's the vibe here? Is this going to work? And of course, it was a little awkward. It was a little weird. Stephen and Lauren both told me later that on their way to that meeting, they both weren't even sure that they were doing this movie. They're like, what is going on here? Did I actually say yes? Is this happening? And Lauren said she was walking to the park and she found someone had left on their stoop a copy of the book Lolita. And she picked it up and she goes, well, I think this is my son. I have to do this movie.
Oh
and Stephen just, the moment he said yes, he was just along for the ride. And it was just, okay, I guess I'm showing up and doing this.
Wow. I'm all about certain moments and things signs. That's crazy.
I know.
Amazing. So you get this team together. How long did it take to shoot? This was in COVID times. It seems like it was pretty much one, maybe two, three locations, I think.
Yeah, it's predominantly the apartment. And then there's the shot of her outside, but that really was outside of the apartment. So that wasn't really a setup change. It was just taking the camera and the tripod down and setting it up. And that was, there was no sound for that either. And then there's the bar. So yes, like 2.5
Yeah.
locations, I guess you could say. Yeah. So we rehearsed a lot before
Okay.
we got to set. I think we filmed it in July of 2021 and we started rehearsing in April. So we basically rehearsed April, May, and June. And then we shot for 9.5 days. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How making a film, when you put that other hat on, how has that experience, this experience kind of helped change you as a performer, or just makes you because I think as actors, as creators, we're always learning, and
Mhm.
you pull from that, because
Yeah.
especially performances we're doing. Well, how has that experience made you, like, do you want to do another one? Like, just everything with that. And
Oh,
then,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was so lucky that this team was just, these are the people that you want to work with. They're so collaborative, they're so open, it's so much fun. Stephen is such an amazing actor to act opposite. He's always giving so much. There's never a moment where I'm working off of nothing. He is phenomenal. And he's so sweet. And I think Lauren is such a talented director that it was just so much fun being in the rehearsal process with her and Steven, and then with Acacia, our intimacy coordinator, when we had intimacy rehearsals. Yeah,
yeah, I wanted to
we had
bring
to do
that up
those.
too, because that's so important, especially
Yeah,
now, and then the comfortability of your
yeah.
actors, both male or female,
Oh, everybody. It's also, and the
it's
crew.
exactly. Can you just speak on that, and why
Absolutely.
you all chose to have that
Oh, yeah.
on?
It wasn't even a question. I knew what script I wrote, and I came from a background where I used to write for a company called Provoker, which kind of focused on sex and intimacy and eroticism in different arts of different, forms of entertainment. And I wrote about film. So I would write about sex scenes and how they were filmed, and ones that were problematic and ones where the actors have talked about it being a safe environment. And I'd been kind of paying attention as intimacy coordinators were becoming a thing. And I had interviewed one for an article that I wrote, and I'd interviewed a sensitivity reader. So when we were doing this, it was absolutely, there was no question. We were finding an intimacy coordinator. Yes, that does mean you have to allocate a good bit of your budget to that. That's not cheap, but it's also intrinsic to the story. If you cut out the intimacy in this, well, you don't have a story. That is so heavily intrinsic to this relationship. And Acacia was a lucky find. I was on Facebook one day and I was just kind of scrolling, and I scrolled by some film group that had posted a crew call for a movie that was crewing up. And Acacia had commented, if this movie needs an intimacy coordinator, I'm an intimacy coordinator. Here's my work. So I went to their website, ended up emailing them, and we hopped on the phone after I sent them the script, and we chatted for a while, and we just hit it off really well. So after we had brought on Lauren, I said to her, there's already one intimacy coordinator who I really like, who I've talked to, who, would totally love to do this project. So let's you two meet, and see if that vibe is going to work, or if you want to, interview other people, because obviously we're doing this. And so we all got on a Zoom together, and Lauren and Acacia hit it off, and then that was that. And it just, which was a very, very lucky find. They're maybe one of the only people who we didn't interview multiple people for the position of. I think that and color were the only ones that were just, there was never another option. But I loved it because it makes it so much easier that, when you show up for your first intimacy rehearsal, you've already talked to your intimacy coordinator alone. There's no one else there saying, oh, well, you wrote this in the script, so aren't you okay with that? It's just you and the IC saying, what are you comfortable with? What are you okay with in a rehearsal? What are you okay with on set? What's your red lights, your absolute no's? What are your maybes in certain situations? What are your greens? And the other actor isn't there. So you don't feel like you're put in a position where, well, they said yes, so now I have to say yes. So Stephen and I had our own meetings with Acacia came to the first rehearsal. And I mean, even still, the first intimacy rehearsal is so strange because we'd
Yeah.
already been rehearsing a few days. And I remember Acacia said, okay, things build. So let's just start with one of the smaller intimacy scenes, which was just, like a kiss or something. And so we're rehearsing in my apartment building's basement. Stephen and I are lying on the ground in my basement. And we're doing the lines, and he leans over, and I just go, wait, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I'm going to kiss you now. And I just go, oh, right. Yeah. Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Like you have to, it's a different part of your brain that you're kind of turning on. And even though you're taking all of these precautions, there are still going to be awkward moments. So that's why you want to have it be such a safe set. So by the time we actually got to filming, Lauren will tell you that those scenes were the hardest to film because they're so technical. But me and Steven, it was so choreographed that those were the easiest for us to film because we knew, count to this in your head as you say this line, then move to this position. So it was all, laid out for us.
I love that. I love that. I'm so happy that has an intimacy coordinator has become a thing because in my past, I'm an actor, filmmaker myself outside of this, is what brought me to being on NRW is just to showcase films. But when I was acting and when I was in those intimate situations, it's so awkward.
It's so awkward.
I'm not sure what to do. And I have been in situations like, okay, you're girl was like literally putting her tongue down my throat, and I'm like,
right. And you need to have a conversation of, are we doing exactly
what? Yeah.
Right. That was a conversation that we had to have with Acacia was, what kind of kissing are you okay with?
Yeah. And it was like I didn't mind it, but at the same time, it's just, you just don't know. And the fact that intimacy coordinators are now available to work those things out and just kind of help cut away at that, because you don't want to be seen as a predator or taking or abusing in any way. So just to have all of that is just, I'm so thankful.
Also, sometimes there are directors who don't like directing the intimacy scenes, so they just tell the actors to, well, you figure it out. That's uncomfortable.
Yes.
That puts the actors in such a strange position. And also, just because you think something looks good or feels good from being in it doesn't mean it looks good on camera. Yep. An intimacy coordinator knows, well, here's how we stage this so that they look naked, or that it looks like they're doing this when they're not doing this. I know we had a scene where it's shot from the side and it has to look like I have nothing on bottom wise. And that was Acacia saying, okay, here's the modesty garment, and here's where we can put the camera where it looks like you'll be naked and you're not.
Definitely. They know all the angles.
Exactly. They do. They know all of that stuff.
Literally.
And I've definitely been, because intimacy coordinators are still pretty new. And I, like you, I've been acting for a long time. The first time I had a sex scene, I was 16. And it was, I had a part, it was like a multi-day part. It was the main character in her flashbacks as a teenager, but the guy opposite me, he was just a day player. I didn't meet him until we showed up on set. He was 24.
This is already getting horrifying. This is a film right here, Amanda.
It was not a closed set, so the entire crew was in the room. And this is, I'm in my 30s now. This was 16, 17 years ago. So there were no intimacy coordinators, and and he felt awkward and I felt awkward. So I just was trying to crack jokes because, again, I am an awkward 16-year-old filming a sex scene. And it wasn't an intense or extensive or even explicit scene, but it's still a sex scene.
Yeah.
You are still in a bed with a man you have never met who is an adult and you are not.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, now do the moaning noises. Excuse me? How do you want that to sound? I mean, that is actually, those were conversations we had to have on this set of how should the moans sound? What sounds fake? What doesn't sound right? And there's a scene we were filming, and I remember Lauren yells cut, and she says to Acacia, there's something that feels off, and I don't know what it is. It looks great. I don't know what it is. And Acacia immediately goes, Stephen, breathe out with an H sound and not like a G sound. which is so
Ah,
right. It's so tiny. It's so specific.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. I'm a proponent of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what really struck me. And when I was reading that you had one involved, I'm just I
Yeah.
love that because I think more productions, especially as indie filmmakers, that it's so important because we all have our stories, and I have so many. I mean, I'm very open with my sexuality,
Right.
and yeah, and it's crazy, when people don't know. So in the unknown, and to have that is so great,
Yeah.
and
And it makes the
yeah,
crew feel safe as well, that
yes,
especially when you deal with scenes
you
of
feel
sexual
awkward, so
violence.
awkward all the way
Yeah.
around.
Right. You're there watching two people. They are really making out. That is real.
Hmm.
And you're just there, fanning them, spraying them with water to make them look sweaty. And then what about scenes of sexual violence? That could trigger someone on the crew.
Yes. Definitely. So perfectly good moments. I gotta tell you, I love the title,
Thank
especially
you.
towards the end, because it's a little bit of a callback.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I see you, Amanda. I was like, that's when the title totally sold me. 'Cause there's
Thank
that
you.
callback. There's just, it's good writing. I'm as a writer, I love that. So it's out now and available. How has the feedback been streaming on Tubi? When the rest of your team saw it, your cast, Steven, everybody looked back at it. What is the vibes now? You're out, you're talking to me, you're promoting
Yeah,
the film.
I know. It's crazy.
Let's talk about this experience. How has it changed you, and how has it been?
Yeah. I mean, so it only just came out this month. So it's definitely, and it's an indie movie. So it is kind of that uphill climb of doing all the press you can. But at the same time, I have done a lot of interviews, and it does actually really seem, I've had a lot of people reach out to say, hey, this is on my watch list. I'm planning to watch it, this weekend, or I just watched it. And that's really crazy and really cool. And just seeing who it resonates with and what people pick up on and what people, what aspects of it work for whom. And I already know I have a podcaster who I connected with, who I was on his podcast to talk about it. And so he watched it obviously for his podcast to do the interview. And I saw on Letterboxd the other day, and he tagged me in a post on Blue Sky that he was just like, I need to watch a man get what's coming to him. Amanda, I'm watching your movie again.
Yes.
And so I saw him go to Letterboxd, and it's such a satisfying rewatch. And this isn't, we've become friendly now since I've been on his podcast, and we kind of connected being fans over another podcast. But this isn't, a friend or anyone I've ever met in person. So that's so cool to see that happen.
That's so sweet. I love that.
Yeah.
What also got me is I did a VR film project.
Oh.
Started like last year. It's now getting out there.
Yeah.
But I was totally like clueless to the VR world until this film project. It was a VR film that we did. How when you were putting the script together, are you like a tech savvy person? When did that component come in for the twist? I'm curious about that because it's such a, not everybody's up with that technology.
Yeah. So I had a few different ideas for what the twist could be. And this is where the story co-writer came in. I brought this idea to him, and he helped me flesh out what the twist should be. He has done some of those VR projects as a producer,
Okay.
so he knew the basics of them already. And then my brother, he's a physicist, but he has a background in computer programming. And one of his very good friends is a game developer. It's the same coding that they used for VR. So I had them kind of give the tech walkthrough of like, obviously, this is further afield from what exists today, but not that much further. It is still grounded in what the real coding and technology would be. So the scene where it glitches and you see the glitch, if you actually pause, that is a real code that my brother and his friend wrote for us. And there was actually a
Wow.
version of this where we had a mock-up of like the beta world that you would see on Ruby's iPad, and that my brother designed. We didn't end up going with that because it just would be boring on camera. We realized it wouldn't be very dynamic looking. But yeah, so it is actually what the coding would be
That's so
if
cool.
this were real. Yeah.
That's cool. Have you ever put one of those on? Have you tried like a meta Have you
Yeah, my
been in
my
that?
baby brother has the set now, and it's really funny because so I have a sibling who is in his mid-20s, and that's the one who does coding, and then I have two half siblings who are 10 and 12. And the 12-year-old, he has that whole VR setup. And my dad and stepmom have seen this movie, of course. My entire family has seen this. And so I remember the last time I went over to their house after they'd seen the movie, and I see my brother playing with a thing, and my dad just points at it and he goes, "Yeah."
That's so cute.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome. So perfectly good moment. Again, let me remind everybody, now on demand, Prime Video everywhere, the amazing Amanda Jane Stern. So this project is out there, and I'm curious. I know you've got your own podcast, the
I
Don't Be Crazy
do.
Pod,
Yep.
I think, and you produce true crime during the day.
I do.
ha-
Yep.
what can you just tell me a little bit about that and your podcast and
Yeah,
projects
totally.
we can support you on, going
Yeah. So yes, I co-host the Don't Be Crazy podcast. It's just a general movie podcast. My co-host Zach Rancourt, he lives out in the Seattle area. We actually met in person for the first time yesterday because he
I
was in the
love that.
city.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
he's an old friend of my director, Lauren's. She's grew up in Washington. And so they became friends when they were both living in Seattle years and years and years ago. And so she connected us like 2 years ago, and he ended up having me join. He already had the podcast, and he and his co-host kind of split ways, and he had me on as a guest, and then he had me on as a guest 5 episodes in a row. And at that point, we just said, "Hey, maybe I'm the co-host now."
It makes
So
sense.
yeah, so you we're on hiatus this month just because I'm doing this self-created press tour. He just had a baby and he's been traveling for work, but we'll be back next month for holiday season. And you can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, I my day job is I'm a true crime television producer. So right now I am working on season 3 of New York Homicide for the Oxygen Network.
Okay.
We're in post-production, so it's great. It will come out sometime next year, but I was a researcher. So that means I find the cases and write them up for the episodes.
Oh, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And now we're in post, so now I'm story APing.
Awesome, awesome. With the Don't Be Crazy podcast, so, are you all film genres? Is there specific projects?
Nope, all
Okay.
film genres. It's just kind of whatever we're feeling in the mood for. So sometimes my favorite month is when we did Crazy for Swayze, which was, I think, not
I
this
like the
past
title.
September, but last September, it was just a month of just doing Patrick Swayze movies. And that was partially because I really wanted to do Roadhouse because I fucking love Roadhouse. I really love Roadhouse. But so we did that. We did Pride Month. We are doing holiday films. Obviously, every October we do spooky films
Yeah.
because we love horror movies. So we do a fair number of horror movies throughout the year. We tend to do a lot of 90s mid-budget action movies. We both gravitate towards that.
Okay.
We just
I
both
like that
really
niche.
enjoy them. Yeah. So we've done a lot of those, and we always seem to have a lot to say about those, and we really thoroughly enjoy watching those movies. But yeah, we just kind of each month is what we're vibing with and feel like doing.
Cool. Everybody, check out the Don't Be Crazy pod. I'm gonna have all of Amanda's links in the description below. Because we're getting towards the end of the year, and when I saw that, I was like, I'm curious if she'll tell me her top 5 films of the year. If you already kind of have an idea, or if you don't have it set, what would be in your like top 5 so far?
Definitely The Substance.
I love The
Yeah,
Substance.
I loved that.
That and Sing Sing are. I haven't. I put my top 10 lists together because I'm going to be doing it for the radio soon,
Mhm.
and I'm battling it out between Sing Sing and The Substance.
I
As
love
my
The
top
Substance.
2.
It's so much fun. It's beautiful. I really like body horror. I love goopy movies, and it's so
Corla
goopy.
Farhi is amazing. I
It's
love her. I went
gorgeous.
back to check out Revenge.
Oh, yes.
And like I said, like I love your film, right? I enjoyed your film,
Yeah.
Amanda, and it just reminded me just I love
Yes.
good girl power films and getting revenge. And so when I saw Substance, I fell in love, and then it made me like, who is Carly Fargi? I
know.
remembered the name, and then I had never seen Revenge, so I had to go back and see Revenge. And I was like, I want to see everything. She is God.
I put a list together on Letterboxd and I just called it Good for Her. And yes, my movie is on it. Revenge is on it. Of course.
So good.
Hard Candy is of course on that list. So yeah, The Substance.
Okay.
I
Sorry to
just saw-
sidetrack.
No, that movie's amazing. I just saw Flow.
Oh, I have that, but I haven't watched it yet.
Watch it.
Yes.
It's
Okay.
it's adorable. I went to a screening of it in the city on Monday. I saw it at the beginning of the week. It's so cute. It's
Okay.
just and it was very much that I needed that at that night kind of thing.
I love that.
Yeah. So Flow, really great. I'm seeing Heretic really soon, so I hope that will be
It was good.
yeah.
It was good. Yeah.
I haven't really been great about seeing new movies this year just because I've been so
Work.
busy in production. Yeah, it's been one of those things. And then I watch a lot of old movies. But you know what? I'm gonna add my own movie to my top 5 this year because who else is? So
Why not? Why not?
perfectly good moment, you know? This like little indie movie. It's real cool. I have another indie movie actually to add. There's a movie called First Time Caller that came out at the beginning of this year.
Adam
have you seen
Goldfarb. I had
Abe?
him on.
Yeah. Oh wait, you had Abe on?
Yes.
We're good
Yeah,
friends.
Abraham-
We're good friends now. We met because we have the same distributor and we both played at the Bowery Film Festival at the end of last year. He was on tour with Beetlejuice.
Yes.
So he wasn't there, but they were the opening night movie. We were the closing night movie. So I ended up connecting with Mac, the screenwriter of that, and I guess he had told Abe, hey, you should connect with, these people and check out their movie when it comes out. So Abe, like months and months and months ago, reached out to me on social media and we connected and we've become really good friends. So yeah, his movie came out at the beginning of the year. First Time Caller is great.
Yes. Shout out. Yeah. Interview on the channel. Y'all go check out my interview with Abe.
Yeah. Check that. I saw him a week ago.
Awesome.
Yeah, we both live in Brooklyn. So we meet up from time to time. We're trying to work together. So yeah. So I would add that because that came out this January and I was really impressed by that. And I remember because we saw it at Bowery and they were the opening night movie. And the moment the movie started, we saw their distribution company logo pop up. And my director and I looked at each other and it was kind of a moment of, oh my God, we really hope this is good because then that puts us in a good library of things,
Yeah.
And so the movie happens and we were like, yes, this is good. This is the kind of thing that we want to be in a library with. And obviously we both have sci-fi elements. Theirs is harder sci-fi than we are. We're more light.
Yeah.
But still, so that I would say that one. And then I guess that's 5.
All good. Amanda, I love your vibe. Your energy is great. And this movie was a lot of fun to watch.
Thank you.
I hope we can keep in touch.
Yeah.
Would love to have you back and promote anything you got going on or just talk film.
I will always
your energy's
talk
awesome.
I have so many films that I would love to talk about with people that I go down rabbit holes where I get really into genres. And sometimes they're really niche. Like right now I'm doing the DTV Erica Anderson thrillers. There are 4 of them. I know that's really, really niche. It's so niche. But it's really fun. There's one of them that I would absolutely not recommend because it is not a good for her. It is a bad for her. It will make you feel real shitty. Not in the sense that it's bleak, in the sense that they just did a really bad job of thinking out their screenplay and thinking out what the catharsis of the movie should be. And so she just becomes and consistently is a damsel and has to be saved even at the end by a stupid man. And it's just not, you're watching it and it's the trauma inflicted upon her is so much that by the time you get to the end, you're like, she didn't get the ending. She didn't get fuck this. I'm so angry.
I feel that.
Yeah. So I don't recommend, but I watched a movie called Zandali that she's in, and that's what started this whole thing. And I do recommend that. It's like almost what would happen if Tennessee Williams made an erotic thriller. Almost. It's not quite homoerotic enough, but it is almost there.
Awesome. Amanda, you're dope. Thank you for nerding out and being like that, because this is Nerds Rule the World. We support nerding out and getting the whole vibe. So I feel that. Everybody, the amazing Amanda Jane Stern, Perfectly Good Moment is streaming right now on demand on Tubi, Prime Video, all the places. Go check it out. Thank you so much, Amanda. I really appreciate you. Please come back. I'm Kuya P. This is Nerds Rule the World. All right, there's a cut, Amanda. Oh. All right, here we go. In a 1, 2, 3.